Take 3 deep breaths. Settling our body, speech and mind in their natural state. Stillness, relaxation and vigilance. Fully present. Now let your breath be natural without modifying it. Just noticing the sensations of the breath throughout your body. Releasing and relaxing with each out breath. Allowing your body to take the next in-breath when it needs it. Mindful of every breath. Finding that balance between relaxation and vividness. Releasing dullness and distraction. Now, for a moment, imagine what it would be to generate the great resolve. That is to make a strong determination to take the responsibility yourself, to liberate all sentient beings from suffering, from cyclic existence, and bring them to Buddhahood. This might feel like a very big aspiration. But we can start by pledging to make the goals of our love and compassion a reality. To generate the altruistic intention, contemplate the fact that you will be best equipped to work for the benefit of others when your own compassion, wisdom, and skill are fully developed. Then aspire to attain full enlightenment, the state in which all defilements are totally eradicated and all good qualities are fully developed. In order to be able to best benefit others. Once we have generated bodhicitta, this altruistic intention, we must engage in the 6 far-reaching attitudes to complete the accumulation of positive potential and the accumulation of wisdom that are needed to attain enlightenment. These 6 practices, which are generosity, ethical discipline, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom, these become far-reaching attitudes when they are motivated and held by the altruistic intention of bodhicitta. They are purified and realized when they are held by the wisdom, realizing the emptiness of 3, the agent, action, and object. Therefore, decide to practice each far-reaching attitude with the motivation of bodhicitta. Seal it with an understanding of emptiness and dedicate the positive potential for the enlightenment of ourselves and all others. Each far-reaching attitude should be practiced together with the others. For example, the ethics of generosity is not to harm others while giving. The patience of generosity is not to become angry if those we give to are unappreciative or rude. The joyous effort of generosity is to take delight in giving. The concentration of generosity is to maintain an altruistic intention while giving and to give without distraction. The wisdom of generosity is to reflect upon the emptiness of the subject, the action, and the object of generosity. In this way, we can integrate the practice of each far-reaching attitude into the others. So take a moment to rejoice for every time you have practiced any of these, every time you've been generous or patient, that you decided to do the ethical thing and not a harmful action. Every time you've practiced concentration, focusing on your breath, and dedicate all these actions for that altruistic intention of the bodhicitta, the wish to attain enlightenment and be completely free of defilements and obscurations and afflictions in order to best benefit others. Rejoice for having cultivated this great intention. Rest in that experience. Let's finish dedicating this practice again for that aspiration. That through this practice we gain greater wisdom into how to follow the path of the Bodhisattvas and achieve enlightenment and free all sentient beings from suffering, helping them achieve genuine happiness, liberation, and enlightenment. This aspiration of bodhicitta, this intention, this altruistic motivation to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, can sound very difficult to achieve, or even it might feel like, how can we, with all our mental afflictions, would ever be able to liberate others from suffering or help them? Or how could we achieve enlightenment? That sounds like something very far away, something very difficult to achieve. But from the Buddhist perspective, we are already Buddhas. We're just dreaming that we are these deluded sentient beings. We have everything. We have all the potential to be fully compassionate and skillful and wise. But if we don't believe it's possible to realize our true nature, we won't do anything. We will keep deluding ourselves. So this practice of cultivating bodhicitta has this aspect of renunciation, but it's also translated as a spirit of emergence. It's like this, okay, I'm done with samsara. I give up. I can't keep living life after life after life, cultivating the same mistakes, the same errors, being trapped, believing appearances are real, and that my happiness depends on those appearances. Expecting everything to be permanent. I can't keep doing this because I've already got everything in terms of pleasures and material wealth, and just to find that that doesn't give me the happiness I'm seeking. I've had relationships, I had this, I've been up in that, in those levels of success or achievement, just to fall again. And then ups and downs, but I'm never free. So the more we cultivate these practices, the more we reach that point of, okay, what do I need to do to be free? I'm done with samsara. And in that moment, when you become aware of how we've been living and cultivating the causes of our suffering, and become aware that others are in the same boat, they're chasing after happiness, creating the causes of their suffering. Great compassion arises, and you say, well, it's not only about me. Like, we're all together in this boat. What do we need to do to help each other be free and discover our true nature, realize our Buddha nature? And the first thing is to have the intention, to have the motivation. So there are two kinds of bodhicitta. This mind, citta is mind, and body is awake, the mind of awakening, the seeker of awakening. This bodhicitta, this altruistic intention, first is the bodhicitta of aspiration. We start by cultivating the wish, the aspiration, and then it becomes a bodhicitta of actualization, something that we actually practice, and we're starting to walk the path that can lead us to achieve that motivation, to become Buddhas, to be completely free of defilements and obscurations, and be of benefit to others. If you think about what becoming a Buddha is, it's not becoming a super powerful being that is selfish and now has the power to help others from the ego perspective of, I am so kind, I'm going to help you and save you. No, a Buddha is someone that has completely dissolved the ego and that recognizes their non-duality with each and every sentient being and perceives everybody as Buddhas. And because there's great compassion and wisdom, they are able to be a mirror and show you your true nature. Say you are a Buddha too, right? It's very powerful. So if we constantly generate this aspiration and put it as our priority, then all our actions start aligning with that motivation, with that ideal, and then we make our lives meaningful and we start actually cultivating the causes that lead us there. Doesn't mean that from day one we're going to be totally compassionate and generous. That's why we practice, right? And we're going to practice these 6 perfections or 6 far-reaching attitudes. They are called the 6 paramitas. And these practices are very powerful because it's what we need. It's all we need. It's the path we need to become Buddhas, right? So we mentioned them here in this meditation briefly: generosity, ethical discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, and wisdom. But we are going to do a meditation on each one so that we can know how to practice them and how to implement them in our day-to-day lives. But they all balance each other. And if we practice combining them, then we can develop all the causes that lead to Buddhahood, to enlightenment, and dissolve all the mental afflictions, right? Because generosity is a direct antidote to attachment. Patience is an antidote to anger and aversion. Like, all of these are going to help us and lead us in that path to enlightenment, to the discovery of our true nature. So remember, I was telling you about this text of Shantideva, the monk that nobody thought he had any realization until he gave this amazing speech when he was teaching this text of the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. So this text has 10 chapters, and 6 of these chapters, each one of them is one of these perfections. And he writes beautifully, well, it's written, his words, his teaching on how to practice each one of them. And in the first chapters, he teaches us how to cultivate this renunciation, this spirit of emergence, this wish to emerge from that mud, from samsara, from cyclic existence, from suffering, and direct our minds to that altruistic motivation, the highest motivation we can have, how to cultivate this bodhicitta, right? And he says that when you start cultivating it and you really plant that seed in your heart, in your mind stream, then no matter what you're doing, you can be washing dishes or watching a movie. All the time you're cultivating enormous merit and positive potential because of that, because that's your motivation in life. And it becomes your motivation life after life after life. And it guides you to do the things you need to do to be completely free. So this is the difference between the Mahayana path, the great vehicle, and the Sutrayana, is that you're cultivating continuously this motivation, and then you become a bodhisattva. So if we start by doing this motivation each day, every day, to dedicate the merit, not only dedicate it for having more health and wealth and pleasures and all the things we want that are temporary. Dedicate it for the highest potential, for the highest result you can think of, which is obviously realizing your Buddha nature, actualizing, realizing, manifesting all your potentials, physical, your potentials of speech, your potentials of mind, all the potential that is in you to become a Buddha. And recognizing that each sentient being has this potential to manifest their Buddhahood too. So you start also respecting the Buddha nature in others, right? So all the practices of the Mahayana and the Vajrayana are oriented to lead us to the realization of our true nature. And this is the main motivation that we need to cultivate continuously in order to get there. So we're gonna start practicing the 6 paramitas, but always imbued with this motivation to make them far-reaching and not just give something because you expect something in return. When you really give something, it's because when you give it as an act of generosity without expecting anything in return, you feel joy, you feel happiness. So we not only want to give and feel happy and just let that dissolve. We want to dedicate that action for the path so that we can continue giving and being of service and helping others. So in that way, each one of these practices becomes bigger and creates merit or positive potential or positive karma that expands and keeps taking you in that direction. So in the relative reality, we're cultivating the causes to become Buddhas. And the sixth perfection, which is wisdom, is the ultimate reality, cultivating the understanding that there is no subject, no action of giving, no recipient of your generosity. Because that is living in duality. Is this, I am giving to you, that separation. We're dissolving that separation. And it's like we're giving to ourselves. Or Buddha nature is giving to Buddha nature, So, do you have any questions about this bodhicitta? Yes?
No, so there's the Eightfold Path and there's 6 perfections. So is there an overlap?
They overlap. The Eightfold Path, it has some practices that are for ethical way of living. Right speech, right livelihood, right actions, right orienting your mind in the right direction to not harm others, right? So that would be like having an ethical way of life. Not taking a job where you are killing, for example, or you are harming others. You check that your actions are according to this intention of being of service. Then there is the concentration, the development of single-pointed attention, and then the cultivation of wisdom, right? So if you see, this is similar to the triple higher training in the Mahayana: ethics, samadhi or concentration, and prajna, which is wisdom.
So
just wisdom. So ethics, ethical way of life, concentration, and wisdom. That's the triple higher training in the Mahayana. In the Sutrayana, in the Theravada traditions, they practice the Eightfold Path. So that lower, the base, the first step, ethics, is divided into several more specific actions of body, speech, and mind that are ethical, right? So here, as you can see, one of them is an ethical way of life, ethics, right? And we also have concentration and wisdom. So we could say those overlap. But then we have some specific ones which are generosity, patience, and joyous effort, right? And it's just another way of practicing the path. But here the main difference is the motivation, because in the Sutrayana traditions, the motivation is to become liberated from suffering. I want to be free from suffering. I want to achieve nirvana, the cessation of suffering. So the Eightfold Path will lead you to become an arhat, a liberated being, someone that has realization of emptiness. But in the Mahayana, the distinction is that you're cultivating this bodhicitta motivation. So you are dedicating all your actions so that you can become a Buddha and help others become Buddhas too. So the result of those actions is going to be different because of the motivation, because of the intention, the direction you're giving to that action, right? So you could, for example, be a Mahayana practitioner and go to Thailand or Myanmar and go to a Theravada center, meditation center, and be in retreat there, practicing shamatha, practicing an ethical way of life, practicing wisdom. But your motivation is the bodhicitta motivation. If that's your motivation, you're practicing with them. But the result of your path is a Mahayana path. It's going to lead you to become a bodhisattva. Right? I met people in those centers that are practicing with the bodhicitta motivation, and they are studying both paths, and they have books of Tibetan teachers, because now we have access to all the paths. Before, there was no internet, there was no TV, there were no cars or airplanes. So it was very difficult that someone from Thailand would meet someone from Tibet or Mongolia or Bhutan, right? And follow that path. But nowadays, there's a lot of intersections there. So the important thing is to understand where these paths lead to and apply yourself the best you can to the path that calls you, right? But if you encounter these teachings, it's for a reason. Probably because you did aspirations in the past to find the bodhisattva path again and again, right? So when you hear about the bodhicitta intention or motivation, you say, yeah, of course, it makes sense. I just don't want to be free of suffering myself. I want everybody to be free of suffering. I want all of us to become Buddhas, right? Why not? If we can help each other, that's fantastic. And if we can cultivate that motivation from the beginning, why not? That would be great, right?
I just had in one of those, the motivation originally which is here, it says, may the two bodhicittas ripen. So I don't understand exactly what it means. This one. May the two bodhicittas, it says two bodhicittas. So I've been wondering.
Yeah, well, one bodhicitta is the bodhicitta in the relative reality, in the relative realm of cause and effect, right? We aspire to become Buddhas for the benefit of all beings. So that gives rise to great compassion and loving kindness and wanting to help others, right? So that's the relative bodhicitta, in which we are creating the causes to become Buddhas by being compassionate and loving and patient and generous and all these things. But then there's the ultimate bodhicitta. And the ultimate bodhicitta is the realization of emptiness, the understanding of emptiness. So wisdom is the ultimate bodhicitta, because that's what can really cut all the illusions. Wisdom will dissolve completely the ego grasping and the mental afflictions and delusions, the confusion, the ignorance is dissolved by wisdom. So that's the ultimate bodhicitta. And we need both bodhicittas to be Buddhas, to be free. Not only wisdom, not only compassion, we need both.
So one implies compassion, is it? And one
Compassion, and when I say compassion, all the practices of the heart. Compassion, loving kindness, generosity, patience, all of that. And the other is the wisdom, the realization of emptiness. The emptiness of all phenomena and the emptiness of yourself.
So both are classified as bodhicitta per se.
Both are classified as bodhicittas. Anything else? Yes?
Is a fully realized bodhisattva a Buddha, and was the Buddha a bodhisattva?
Well, yeah, from some perspective, the Buddha was already enlightened, but due to the great compassion, he manifests as a sentient being, following all the bodhisattva path to show us the way of how you become a Buddha, right? But when you achieve a Buddhahood, from that perspective, you always been a Buddha. You were just dreaming that you were not a Buddha, you know? So we can also say that a Buddha can manifest, as we were talking, as emanations, as bodhisattvas, manifesting as people we can relate to in order to help us. And a bodhisattva, when he's very advanced on the path, is almost a Buddha. They don't even care about achieving enlightenment. They care about other beings achieving enlightenment, because there's no sense of grasping to a self anymore, you know? So is that not even wanting enlightenment what makes them achieve the last part and become Buddhas? So from that perspective or that point, they're non-dual, they're the same. But there are different stages in the bodhisattva path. Yes?
So why are we in this dream?
Why? We, according to Buddhism, we have always been in this dream. We don't know why. It's always been like that. We've always been confused. Yet, we can be not confused. We can realize our Buddha. That's why we say we all have Buddha nature. But we are deluded by the appearances that arise to our experiences. We create that duality. We separate from all the appearances, thinking they are out there, and reify, solidify the I. You know? But we all have that intuition deep down. It's what we all are always seeking and searching. It's a longing that we have. Because in some moments, the Buddha nature arises spontaneously. And there's different times that it comes. For example, when we sneeze, when we have like someone scares us and we have that startle response. Those moments, also when we are falling asleep or during the orgasm, at different times of our life, at the moment of death, our Buddha nature is revealed for a moment, for an instant, you know? But we don't recognize it and sustain it and make it our way of perceiving and being. So we need training in order to recognize it. And because there's all this conceptuality, all this internal chit-chat. You notice when someone scares you or you are in danger, you become fully present because your life is at risk. And that internal chit-chat just shuts up, right? It's like, don't bother me, I need to put attention. And it just happens. And then at some moments of your life, maybe you are watching a sunset or different moments, you might be very relaxed, very present, and then the clouds of ignorance just dissipate, and you have an experience of being one with everything. But then it closes again, those clouds, and you reify again, me, I. So, but it's always there. It's always present.